All right, so thank you for everyone joining today. I know we all have busy lives, and I don't take it for granted that obviously you've put the time in for the next half an hour, 40 minutes to discuss and be involved in a discussion. That's not a very easy one. That's been plaguing our society for many years, and currently we should all be aware of what's been going on as well. So again, I do thank you because again, I think it's a massive step for people to acknowledge what's going on and want to learn um, how we can become better in society, mentally and through our hearts as well. So I will get going here. During this presentation, I'm going to poke you now and then to put things in the chat box. Just to give you an idea from my standpoint here, I can't see anyone. So we've done this before when people are waving at me and I can't see anyone. So just so you're aware. But I do have another device here that shows me the chat box. So as we go through, obviously I'll be using the chat box to communicate with you on the other side. Okay. Just so I know everyone can hear me fine before I get going, give me a big yes in the chat box and then we'll get going here. Give me a yes in the chat box. Okay, brilliant. Okay, thank you. They're coming in, so fantastic. Again, I have no idea how many people are on this because they're coming through very quickly, but again, thank you. During this presentation as well, I'm going to ask you to be really honest, and you know, if you're honest normally, fine, fantastic. But just really be honest with some of the questions that are going to come your way, because we all can share from it. Okay, so here we go. And just as usual, let's have a look here. Okay. You know, a lot of people have said to me over the last few weeks, what are some of the things we can do, Matt? You know, how can we go about this? You know, we saw what happened to George Floyd, and we're disgusted, and we've recognized it. What are some of the things that we can do? And tonight I'll go through, obviously sharing stuff with my own personal life as a black man, and again sharing things that you can possibly start to do, or just look at it from a different lens. That's what tonight's going to be about as well. But as you've seen on the slide there, acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is one of the first things we can do as human beings. You know, saying I'm not a racist, or, you know, saying it, but your actions are speaking something different, or recognizing it and not having that conversation with people of color. That's acknowledgement. And what I mean by that is it's took me, I've been in Canada now nearly 14 years. And in 14 years, I've never had this discussion. The platform's never been there. The trust has never been there to have this discussion, to share, for someone to listen, for me to learn as well, and for people to acknowledge that this is a day-to-day thing that goes on in our society. So we see what's going on in the news right now, right? And again, it's sickening what happened, but that's newsworthy right now. And there's things that go on from day to day that I'm going to share with you, because again, it's important that we know this. It's not just about what comes on the TV. Because 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks from now, the media might move on to something else. But this is still, you know, ingrained, embedded within our society. And we as a whole are powerful enough that we can start to make change. Again, not only in the mind, but in the hearts as well. Some of you will be, you know, your coaches, you know, during this period, the last few weeks. And I'm just asking, have you reached out to your players to acknowledge, you know, especially players of color? Have you reached out to them to find out how they're doing? You know, there's a lot of confused kids right now, a lot of confused adults that are on this. Have you reached out to, you know, family members, friends, to check in with how they're doing? Show them that you acknowledge what's going on, that you acknowledge it. You know, I'll go back to when I was 15, playing in England, and playing a game against a club called Aston Villa for the soccer peeps on this call. And I remember going near to someone and standing near to him. And I remember this boy turned around and he says, "Don't touch me. I've heard black people have disease. Don't touch me." And I felt so sick because I didn't understand it. I'd never encountered that before, where someone had verbally said it to me. Didn't hide, it was verbally said to me. And I remember saying to my peers, "Hey, so-and-so said that and I feel, you know," and they just said, "Well, deal with it." These were teammates of mine, peers, who said to me, "Just deal with it." And maybe some of you are saying, well, they were 15, they probably didn't know how to confide in you or what to tell you. But I'll take it a step further. My coach, I told my coach what happened. And do you know what my coach said? Just deal with it. So my point why I'm sharing this is from the age of 15, all I've known is no matter what's been said to me, what's been done, just deal with it. And you'll have individuals around you in your circle who will be thinking the same way. I won't say anything because anytime I say anything, it just gets shut down. Okay? But what I am going to ask is, hey, if you've already started to do it, fantastic. If you haven't, acknowledge it. Acknowledge it. Okay? So here's something I'm going to say in the chat box here. What is racism to you? I just want you to put a brief description in the chat box. What is racism in your eyes? So just pull it in before I move on to the next slide. What is racism? Brilliant. Thanks, Martin. Social disease. John Tallarico. Hi, by the way. Ugly. Fantastic. Come on, give me a bit more. What is it in yours? Because I want to get a sense from you how you view racism. Discrimination. Thank you, Janet. Thank you. Stuart, not treating people as equals. Fantastic. Good. So again, I can see already, just from the early comments that are coming in here. Exactly. Total disrespect. Love it. Totally love it. Okay, so here's the next one for you. Nice and quickly. White privilege. What is it? Because it's come up a lot in society now. And I'm going to dive into it a little bit here, but before I dive into it, give me your view on what white privilege is. Because one thing I don't want to do tonight is assume or guess. Okay, so just put in the chat box. Good, thanks, Martin. Less struggle, right? Okay, anyone else? What is white privilege? What do you think it is? Okay, social privilege, white people have by virtue of being white. Fantastic. More opportunity. Good. Okay, so thank you again. So I'm going to dive into it a little bit. And again, thank you for more opportunity. So I'm just going to show you a video here. Okay. Once I've shown you the video, I'm going to give you about a minute or two. I'll call it 80 seconds to write down in the chat box some thoughts from what you got from the video. Okay. Some thoughts. Okay.
Hi, Matt. There's no sound on it.
Ah, okay. Just give me a minute here. I've got just 1 minute, please. Okay.
It was my setup.
And I don't know if it's working, but you will deal. Imagine your friend is building a house and they ask you to help, but you've never built a house before. So it'd probably be a good idea for you to put on some protective gear and listen to the person in charge. Otherwise, someone's going to get seriously hurt. Look, I'm helping. It's the exact same idea when it comes to being an ally. An ally is a person that wants to fight for the equality of a marginalized group that they're not a part of. We need your help building this house, but you probably should listen so you know what to do first. Let's do this. So here are my 5 tips for being a good ally. Understand your privilege. Now, a lot of people get hung up on the word privilege, so let me break it down for you nice and easy. Privilege does not mean that you are rich, that you've had an easy life, that everything's been handed to you and you've never had to struggle or work hard. All it means is that there are some things in life that you will not experience or ever have to think about just because of who you are. It's kind of like those horses that have those blinders on. They can see just fine. There's just a whole bunch of stuff on the side that they don't even know exists. So for example, there are currently 29 states where you can legally be fired for being gay, and there are 34 states where you can legally be fired for being trans. Now, as a straight cis woman, those are things that I don't have to ever think about if I don't want to. I'm not going to be fired because I'm straight, and I'm not going to be fired because I'm cis. So it makes sense that before I can fight for the rights of others, I have to understand what rights I have and others don't. That's privilege. Listen and do your homework. It sounds like a no-brainer, but it's not possible for you to learn if you aren't willing to listen. So you got to know when to zippa the lippa. I don't know. You get what I mean. But that's the thing that's so cool about social media. There are so many people sharing their stories all around the world and connecting with people that they normally would never get a chance to without the power of the internet. So do your homework. Start reading blogs, tweets, news articles, and stories so that you can get caught up on the issues that are important to the communities that you want to support. Speak up, but not over. If the Fight for Equality was a girl group, the ally wouldn't be the lead singer or the second lead singer. They'd be Michelle. An ally's job is to support. You want to make sure that you use your privilege and your voice to educate others, but make sure to do it in such a way that does not speak over the community members that you're trying to support or take credit for things that they are already saying. This isn't Mario Kart. Stay in your lane. Realize that you're going to make mistakes and apologize when you do. Nobody's perfect. Unlearning problematic things takes time and work, so you are bound to mess up and trip and fall. But don't worry, you can brush yourself off and get right back up. And back up! Just remember that it's not about your intent, it's about your impact. So when you get called out, make sure to listen, apologize, commit to changing your behavior, and move forward. Last but certainly not least, actually the most important thing on this list is remember that ally is a verb. Saying you're an ally is not enough. You got to do the work. 1 through 4. 1 through 4. As always, there are links in the video description box to some of the things I mentioned in this video, along with some resources that have been really helpful for me as I've gone along in my journey to be more conscious. So I want to hear from you in the comments. What are some sites that you suggest checking out? And what are some things that have helped you become a better ally? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and help see you when I see you. Bye!
Okay, so I think I said 80 seconds. So after watching that, write down a few things you got from that video. A few things that you got from that video. So Janet, thank you. Learn and listen. Thank you. Kat, listen first, acknowledge, educate self, be a Michelle, support, do something about it. Fantastic. Thank you, Kat. John T, brilliant. Educate, lots of material out there. You're right, yeah? Fantastic. And I'll just give it about another 30 seconds if anyone wants to put anything in there. Brilliant, Janet. It's important to stand up for those who need you. Fantastic. Thanks, Nick. The bit on 4 about being okay to make mistakes. Fantastic. Good, good. Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Again, tonight's about being honest and being, you know, not afraid to talk about this, not afraid to share. Okay, so I've just put this in here as well because again, it's we've just, you know, she mentioned ally. You know, you've got actor there, ally, accomplice. So I'll just give you a little bit just to take in some of what you've seen on the screen there. And if you've kind of gone through it already a little bit, just put in the chat box which one do you think you wasn't aware that you might be becoming aware of now. Which one would you think you are? Actor, ally, accomplice, and be okay with whichever one. Just put it in the chat box. Which one do you think you are, or you're becoming, or you know? Okay. Thanks, Stuart. Thank again the honesty. Thank you. Fantastic. Stuart, actor. Yeah. John T, accomplice. Yeah. Nick, fantastic, Nick. Trying to be an ally. Yeah. And this is great. I love the honesty, and again, it's healthy. Thanks, Kat. Right, trying to be an ally. Martin, striving to be an ally. Fantastic. Okay, and I'll give it another 20 seconds or so. But I think this is a very good breakdown when we're talking about all three. There's many more, but I love the simpler form of this here. Janet, ally, love it. Okay, so I'll move on here, which is fantastic. So again, thank you for your input. So yeah, as this one says, you know, we need to start having difficult conversations because they're not easy conversations. You know, like I said, I've been quiet for 36 years of my life because I've never felt the platform was there to speak. I've always thought, you know, if I speak, is it going to come down on me job-wise? Are people going to judge me? And now at 44, finally, I'm starting to have that conversation. At 44, which is crazy. And many of you on this call would be like, well, you know, it hasn't affected me. And you've been in that comfort zone, as you can see there. But as she mentioned, you know, the horse, it's going on around us. But start to have those conversations. And I'm not saying you've got to go in deep, but just starting to, one, you've acknowledged it, two, now can you start to have those little conversations? And those conversations could be, how was your day today? Or share with me, I'm interested, I've acknowledged what's going on. I'm really interested to know what your day looks like day to day. Or some of the things you have to put up with. Start to have those conversations. I deal with it day to day, even at 44. I deal with it day to day. There's been times when I've got up, got ready for work, and before I get to work, I've gone through so much. And I might walk into work and I'm smiling, but people have no idea what I've just had to go through on my journey going to work. And I've never felt the platform to speak about it. Now, in the last 2 weeks, you know, finally, I feel like I can speak about these things. Finally, at 44. So people around you, don't be afraid to check in with them and start having these conversations. Because again, you've acknowledged it, start having the conversations. The fact that I'm talking about this now brings out so much joy in me. So much joy. Because as I said, I was at 15, I got told, you know, don't stand next to me. I've had people throw bananas at me. I've had someone get a bottle and crack it over my head, and I've got a stitch here. Just because of the color of my skin. And there was never a platform for me to speak about this outside of my own family. And these are things, and some of you have known me a while, and I'm being vulnerable. That's been my life. And that could be the life of people around you. And you've got to just be aware of that. Just be aware of that. Which is important. Give me a big yes if you can identify with anything there. Anything that I've said there, because it's real. Good, thank you. Okay, thank you, it's coming in, I love it. Okay, so I put this in there. Your words will tell others what you think, but your actions will tell them what you believe. Action is needed, it won't just go away. As I mentioned, there's a possibility the media will move on in a few weeks. But just like you've been on this call right now, that is action. I can't thank you enough for that, because that shows me something. And I know a lot of you on this call, but action, just being here, is huge. But not just on this call, what we do after this, which is important. You know, we had a thing, I think it was last week on Insta, on social media, where it was a blackout Tuesday. And that was great. It was great to see the world or the nation, blackout social media on Tuesday, and everyone had the whole black, what do you call it? Black box, yeah, which was great. But then straight after that, it went back to the norm for a lot of people. And I looked at organizations who, within our sport, what action were they showing? Because even though I'm in the sport, I'm still a black man. And I was looking at what actions were our sports taking, and some acknowledged what's going on, which was okay, which was really good, right? But there was still a lot that didn't. And these are things we've got to be aware of. Your actions to not acknowledging it, right? Having a conversation. Now what do we do? Because people are watching. People are scared. People are confused. And I sit here with all this stuff that I've gone through and still go through. It's never changed my whole aspect on life, my outlook on life, of looking on everyone as a human being. Not once. And I bring that down to my parents who always taught me to see people for their hearts, not for the color of their skin. Even after having people spit at me, break bottles over my head just because of the color of my skin, tell me that I'm someone who has a disease. It's never done that. The hurt that I have, I've always turned it into a positive and looked beyond the negativity and the ignorance of others. And a lot of you know me. I've never once done that, and I won't do it. But what I'm sharing with you is there'll be other people out there who are not able to channel some of that energy and pull it into a positive. Having things build up in us for so long because the platform's not there to speak or to be heard or to be listened. It's not easy. And we all play a part in that. So we've acknowledged it. We're starting to have the conversations. Now can we start to put some action behind it? Right? We just talked about actor, ally, accomplice. Can we put some action to it now? Okay? People are scared to stand up. Right, Janet? People are scared to stand up. How many people's family and friends make comments and family or friends don't say anything? You're right. I've lost friends since last week. And it sounds weird. I've lost friends. But I'll tell you why I don't care. Because the reason I'm speaking up now about it and addressing it, and I'm not coming out, I'm talking with people, having that discussion, is because I want to touch people's minds and hearts and spread that positive thing that we need in the world. That then other people can go out and sprinkle that, not only for society now, but for future generations to come. My parents had to fight. My parents had to fight. I'm having to fight. Do I think it's right that my kids will have to? At what stage do we say, hey, we've got to start changing this up? We've got to change how we go about things. And that's why action is so important. So again, if you can relate to anything there, please give me a yes. Please give me a yes in the chat box. Thanks, Janet. Martin, thank you. So I've just mentioned a while ago, check in with people of color, your circle, friends, families, right? It's so, you have no idea how beneficial that is. Just checking in with people. I've been hurt in the last few weeks. And I've only had a handful of people say, Matt, how are you doing? How are you coping with a lot of this stuff going on? And that's been a lot of it for me in life. And a lot of the people that you know around you, that's how it's always been. We've got to deal with it. But we've got to change that cycle. We've got to open that line of communication. We've got to put that action into showing we care for each other. I always say, my brothers and my sisters, I'm not just talking about black people. I'm talking about everyone on this call and everyone in life. We're brothers and sisters, we're family. We've got to check in with each other. But just checking in is so powerful. Checking in. You might not at this stage see it as anything big, but I'm telling you right now, checking in with people of color touches them in ways that you have no idea about. Okay? So if there's anything again from tonight, some of these things that I'm sharing with you, they're powerful. And there might be words on the screen right now, but they're powerful. They touch so many people in so many ways. Okay? So I love this image. I saw this image last week and I had to pull it in here because it speaks to so much. We had, that sickening incident happen that was caught on the cell phone, as well as others that have happened in the past, caught on the cell phone. But it's ingrained. That's just the surface. Look at the bottom part, under the water. That's what we've got to be aware of. So when I talk about in a few weeks, if the media, that still exists. And we all play a part in fighting for injustice. But that part under the water is what we've got to chip away at. Educating people, checking in with people, communicating with people, seeing where they're at. That's the part at the bottom there that we need to check in at. Okay? Give me a big yes if you can identify with that as well. Give me a big yes, because again, racism's not just what's above the water. It's definitely below, but give me a big yes. Good. Thank you, Janet. People need not to be afraid of making changes. Definitely not. And you're going to make mistakes within it. And not every conversation is going to be, comfortable. But that's what we need to, not only for society nowadays, but for future generations to come. And we all play a part of that. Not me and not just you, we as human beings. So thank you for sharing that. I've put this quote in there. I was fortunate to be part of a panel. I think it was on Sunday, that was streamed across the country, not only the country but around the world. And I got feedback from a lot of people who loved, you know, things and related to things that I talked about. But you know, you look at this at the bottom there. The things we can learn from each other are far more powerful than the things we try to find wrong with each other. Think about that for a moment. The things we can learn from each other. That's the beauty of life. Like I said to you, for the negativity I've had come my way, it's never once strayed, give me a different outlook in life. It's never once done that. It's given me a desire to try and educate people, listen to people, share. That's what it's given me, to share my positive message. But the things we can learn from each other are far more powerful than the things we're trying to find wrong with each other. Tell me if you agree with that statement. Is there anything within that statement that really resonates with you? Put it in the chat box for me. Anything. Good. Thanks, Nick, 100%. Janet, yes. Martin, 100%. Kat, yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Good. So I'll stop sharing here. Good. So I'll open it up for questions. And again, I'm very mindful of this platform. Not everyone's comfortable speaking. So if you are, this is a space where I want everyone to know that it's a space to be comfortable. It's a space to speak freely. So if you feel comfortable coming on camera and speaking in front of everyone here, great. If you don't and you want to put it in the chat box, by all means. So anything in this presentation that you possibly wasn't sure of, or you've learned, or you're going to put action to, please share with the group. Please share with the group. And John and Claire, if you see anything that comes up, can you help me here? Has everyone gone like crickets on me? Is there anything, gang? Okay, thank you, Janet. You give me the courage to speak up. Definitely.
Hey, Matt, I really thought that your statement about reach out to someone of color and talk to them, I thought that's fantastic.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for speaking here as well, John. Thank you. Martin,
good to hear from you, man.
Hold on. Oh, yeah, we've got another one. Yeah. Oh, no, it's gone. Okay. Thanks, John. Martin, I got goosebumps from listening to your passion. I have to say this presentation touched me, Matt. Lovely quote at the end. Janet, I agree with John. Yeah, we're in this together, guys. We're in this together. My brothers, my sisters on this. We are in this together. Okay, let's not wait for the media to dictate when we should be pushing for it. Let's start today to do that. A lot of you in here have kids, right? A lot of you, let's create that. And let's create it with an open mind. Think about people around you. Hopefully now you can start looking at it from a different lens and thinking, okay, there's things that I don't have to worry about day to day that possibly someone with color does. When I get in my car and I'm driving, you know, anytime I see a policeman behind me, I do get nervous. And I'm not saying police out there, but I get nervous. When I go into a supermarket, I can feel the energy of people watching me, because sometimes I get the feeling that they think I'm there to steal something. There'll be many of you on this call who don't feel that, who don't have to. And these are just things I'm sharing with you. not only from my experience, but other people around you. And that's the beauty of having this conversation, to share, that hopefully people can listen.
Matt,
Educate. Yeah, is there someone here?
Claude Bolton in Grand Prairie.
Hey, Claude.
My own experience, as I would say, and I'm sure you might agree, over the last quite a while, actually, number of years since I was a youth, I'd say, at least if you're looking at the Canadian Soccer Association, it is quite diverse already in its player pool. Now, that would be for the average person looking from the outside. So you would say, and I know there's many people in the West Indies or of African descent or all kinds that have always been able to make their way through the Canadian Soccer Association. So we must be doing something well in Canada to allow for those players. But since we can't see everything in perspective, maybe sometimes we're going, hey, look, is there anything that you feel dealing with players and players of color that are a challenge for players of color to make it into the system? Or is there anything that keeps them away from the game that you have seen? Because our perspective might be, hey, players of color do have avenues. I mean, the coaches I've worked with, or the governing bodies I've worked with in Ontario, BC, I've never come across any kind of restriction or resistance to people of color. But I don't know if I'm not seeing that perspective from your side, right? So I don't know if there are challenges you see that are inherent that certain players of color might be challenged with. I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And again, it's, I've talked to a lot of players over the last few weeks and even coaches as well. And it's a thing of, it's been ingrained to stay quiet. And I'm not saying anyone on the call here who's you've created that environment, not at all. But talking to many players throughout the country, it's the norm to stay quiet, the norm not to speak up. Because speaking up, like I said earlier, I might be judged, or it might come back down, it might come on me. My opportunity might not be there just with me speaking up. And all I would ask is, everyone on this call, bear that in mind. Reach out to players, have these conversations, create that space that no one has to think that. It's no different to anyone who might be, just not going off topic, but if someone was getting abused, would we not want to create that space that someone can talk up about that? Right? Someone can speak up about that. We'd want that. So why wouldn't we want it for this as well? So hopefully that I've kind of answered your question a bit there, Claude, but yes, no? Has it gone? Yeah, thank you. Again, thank you for sharing your thoughts there. Any others on here? Any others that, again, was it beneficial? Did you get something out of it? Because again, I know it's not easy to have these conversations, be involved in these conversations sometimes. Was it beneficial?
Matt, it's Jason DeVos here. How are you?
Jason, thank you for being on. Thank you.
My pleasure. I apologize for not participating in the chat. I'm actually out walking my dogs right now. And it's a little later in Ontario here than it is back in Alberta, but I wanted to be on the call to listen to your story. I want to applaud you for having the courage to tell your story, because you've correctly identified that there's never been an opportunity or a platform for you to do that in a safe space. And we talk about that all the time in coach education, that in order for us to learn, we have to feel safe. And, I hold my hand up. I've not done enough and I need to do more. And that's why I wanted to be on the call tonight, was to listen and to learn so that I can educate myself about how we can do better. Nobody's entirely to blame. I think we all share responsibility for creating a better system. But the starting point for that, for me, is to learn about the lived experiences of others. And I recognize that my experience in soccer in this country is not your experience of soccer in this country, and I've got a lot to learn about that. So I applaud you for having the courage to have that discussion, to start that discussion, and I'm here to listen and here to learn and here to help.
Jason, that means the world to me. Thank you. And again, thank you for being on here. For everyone on the call who doesn't know who Jason is I always say that Director of Soccer for Canada. So again, it's having you on this call, and then your comments there, Jason. Thank you so much. And you're right, it's a start, and we can hopefully build and put some action behind it as well, together, all of us. So thank you for that, Jason.
That's my pleasure, Matt. I'm going to ask you a question though.
Yes.
What can we do next? What's the next thing that has to happen here in your mind? What do you feel needs to happen for this conversation to happen at a national level, for this conversation to be commonplace at every level of the game in our country, so that it's not an uncomfortable conversation for people? Because I feel in the last couple of weeks that that's what a lot of people have experienced, that this is an uncomfortable conversation to have. And that's for white people, black people, all people, and I think it's an important step in building a better society, is having the conversation. So in your mind, what do you want to see happen next?
Well, first thing would be to acknowledge it. Jason. There hasn't been that for me, being here, being in this country as a black man, in the role, not only the role, but in the sport. There hasn't been that acknowledgement. I think once the acknowledgement is there and the trust is there, then we can build on with the conversation. Then we can action-wise to show people, whether that's, we can speak more on it, but whether that's having this discussion nationwide, Jason, and inviting everyone in and starting to have that conversation, and then putting some action steps behind it. Because I'd love to see this from a country standpoint, where people can come on and start to, because I think that will start to build that trust of, okay, they're having that discussion, I can be part of it. And not only be part of it now, I can start to take part of this conversation now to my community and share it with others. So I think that would be some of the early steps I would love to see, Jason.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matt. It's great to hear that. And I'll be touching base with you after the call. Maybe not tonight because it is late here, but yes. I'll give you the evening to relax, but I'll touch base and we'll have that conversation moving forward.
Okay. Thanks, Jason. Thank you. Janet, Matt is man of Alberta needs him to lead. Thank you, Janet. John T. Luke of Bagan. So again, thank you, Claire. I want to thank Claire as well, who helped me put this together. John's on the call as well from ASA, so thank him as well. Claire, is there anything you want to add before we do wrap this up? Because again, I'm a man of sharing and listening. So is there anything you want to add, Claire?
No, I want to reiterate the comments about how brave you are to step up and step forward in this conversation, because having these difficult conversations is not easy. And the fact that you are willing to, like in my own perspective, sit alongside me and educate me, so that, I can hopefully better become an accomplice. I was joking about that when we were putting this together, is that, yeah, I don't want to be an ally anymore. I want to just burn it all down and let's be an accomplice. Let's get this stuff moving, right? And how we can best support yourself and people of color, and not, that are not, the kind of majority at the moment, right? So again, it's an important conversation to have. It's a difficult conversation to have, and we have to be okay with being uncomfortable in our, because for so many years, everybody else that isn't white like me has been uncomfortable, right? So now, you know what? Hey, it's my turn, right? It's my turn to grow and learn and be uncomfortable and see things through other people's eyes. And it's so important that, again, you're out there doing these conversations and, you know, being a support to not only educate us, but also to all those players out there that may be struggling, that may be having difficulty. They see someone in a position that is speaking about it, that they can maybe talk to or come to about, hey, you know what, I saw your webinar, I saw you speaking, you know, you're an inspiration to us. I want to get to where you are. And, you know, this is what I'm going through. And you create that space for people. And I think that's just brilliant. So thank you.
Thanks, Claire. Thank you. Thank you. It means the world. Good. So I will, again, if there's anything else, thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for making the time to be here, because that is action already. Now, can we build on that? Can we build on that? Okay, so like I started it with love, I'll finish it with love. Thank you so much. Stay safe, healthy, and keep spreading that love. Thank you all.